Good morning, GM. Everyone, welcome to the Modern Market, where every day we discuss everything to do with the modern market. That is the crypto market, the NFT market, the pre-sale market, October market, how to make some or a lot of money on the internet in an ideal case. Loaded up for discussion today, we have crypto pumping across the board. BTC crossed 116K, ETH was at 4.3K, Solana $218. Also, second piece of headline, going to look at the ETF data. I feel like that's pretty interesting. Both BTC and ETH ETFs had a very strong start of the week, seeing a cumulative inflow of more than 1.5 billion US dollars. And then talked about it on the show yesterday. US government about to shut down. It did shut down. So we're going to touch on that briefly, see what that means as well. I've also got the latest on price action on crypto NFTs and a discussion on competition in Web3. It was quite an interesting chat that we had in the Modern Market Telegram. So I kind of want to piggyback on that and bring it to the show. Today, I have Brett with me in the co-host seat. We're almost ready to get started. But just before we do that, friends, quick reminder that nothing that we say here is financial advice. This market is extremely risky. We do not know anything for sure. So please do proceed with caution and exercise your own judgment. With that out of the way, Brett, welcome to October. Welcome to the show. How are you doing?
Crushing. Woke up, everyone in the, everything's green. Awesome. Woke up to people tagging me. There's always like, for people not in our chats, right, in the Modern Market chat, like we've been pretty aggressive the last, we'll say 3 weeks, month, about like talking about position, thesis, and how navigating stuff, even some of the psychological components of stuff. Like we're all kind of like playing the game. So we have a pretty good idea of what each other are like, where we are. So when I wake up and I see I have some tags, I'm like, oh shit, I'm either waking up and like the ass fell out of something or we're back. And I'm happy to report that we're back. If people remember, we talked about the pump trade on this show just before it caught fire. Let's say 3 weeks ago. Like there was a weekend where it just like it took over the entire timeline. It pumped like 25-30%, something like that. Nailed it. I got in that Saturday morning with a 10x leverage position, rode that thing up, did great, screenshotted for the next like 3 days. And then I realized, or I did not realize more so, that this place doesn't give a shit about anything, and the meta are getting faster and faster and faster. So I assumed the streamer meta would go a little bit longer. So I was like, okay, I'll sit on this, maybe get to like 10 billies. You know, it's still got to squeeze that gap between it and hype. And then everyone moved on. We went and played Aster. Everyone just shifted. And that position, which was up bigly, which I should have closed very quickly on that move, was very red for a while. I thought there was no way I could get back to where my entry was because I caught the move. It bled all the way down. It then proceeded to go negative for a while. I then had to do a little bit of position management, topping up, because if I had not, I would have been liquidated overnight a few times. So it really taught me the ropes of playing with leverage. But we're back. So we, went all the way up. We saw the highs, held on too long, learned some lessons. It bled out. It went negative. I had to top up a few times, and then now after last night, it's going up again. We're in the green. So we're going to ride this one out a little bit.
I mean, by going up again, it's a pretty damn aggressive move up. We're up 26% on the day, back to almost a $7 billion FTV. And I want to go to Funky in a moment. I don't really have that patience with perps. I told you just before the show.
I wish I was the same. I should have done it. I applied the wrong energy to it.
I don't know, like on the what did I do well? I did well on the plasma trade, had the longs open at 78 cents, closed them at like 120 something ish. But then again, yesterday I said on the show with Funky, nah, I don't want to short plasma. Then I got like shorting FOMO this morning. I shorted it like 95 cents, 93, 94 cents, 95, something like that. It went to 91. Now we are back to $1 and a couple cents, 2-3 cents. I'm like, nah. On the way up, I already closed my position and booked, I don't know, like a 6% loss on my position because I just don't have the patience. Once it turns red, Like I kind of, even though it's like a small position, I start to panic internally. I just not comfortable with that.
Yeah, man. I totally get it. I have a lot of anxiety the second I put on a position. Like I look at the chart immediately, and usually it's like immediately in the red. I'm like, all right. And then it gets green a little bit. And then I'm like, oh, I should close it now just because it's green at all. And then I'm like, no, I should. I put on a trade for a reason. I need to let this thing mature a little bit, let it do its thing. I go away for a couple hours. Sometimes I don't come back to a trade at all because it's been liquidated. Aster did that to me. Price action has been absolutely brutal the last like 2 days. And I caught myself sitting on a space, listening to people talking, and they're like, oh yeah, CZ's gonna pump this thing, blah, 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 blah. And it's like, all right, I'll put on a low levy long. I did it and still got me. I didn't feel like topping it up. I didn't believe in it. And I should have closed it, but this last like few days, it was just brutal, and it eventually got me. But you live and learn, take some lessons.
Indeed. English, however, sums it up best in the YouTube comments, just saying leverage sucks. I agree with that. Funky.
I don't know, man. I'm having fun. Now, I'm not doing great. I'll admit that.
I mean, it's fun when it works, and it's not fun when it doesn't work, obviously.
Yeah.
Funky, what are your thoughts on our leverage discussion? Welcome to the stage, my man.
GM, 3 words for my man Bread. Tight, stop, loss. That's all you need to do. And you can set take profit points, man, on the way up. Like just sell a quarter of the bag as you get to a certain percentage, and then take back your initial. Do something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, those are all very we'll say diligent, or that's not the right word. I'm looking like very like that's a sensible thing to do. Everything you just said is the sensible thing to do. But glory doesn't come from take profits at set markers. You got to let that thing sit and marinate for a little bit, and then you got to ride it real high. That's how I ended up riding my pup bag back down to 0. That's how I ended up riding my pump bag back down to negatives. Because on the other side of that, maybe there's something.
Remember what Ellison from FTX said back in the day on stop losses?
No.
I just don't think they're an effective risk management tool.
Oh, yeah. God, yeah.
The good quote back then. Look, let's get started. Let's get into price action first to see what's going on there. It is a green day. It's lovely to look at coin market cap. BTC 116.4K up 3%, ETH at 4.3K up 3.5%, XRP $2.93. I'm getting YouTube videos sent to me by normies with the title XRP could 1000x from here, which would put it at, I don't know, 200 trillion or so market cap. We are getting into that part of the season again. BNB is up another 2%, $1,030. Solana is leading the pack this time, up 5.5%, $218. Checking in with Hyperliquid. Hyperliquid is back to $47, up 4%. And doing Bread the favor to scroll down a bit more. Sui is up 6.3%, $3.40. So all of that looks pretty good, pretty green. Moving on to the meme coin side of things. There we go. We have Doge up 6%, SHIB up 4.5%, Pepe up 5%, Pengu with a strong comeback, up 12%, Bonk up 7%, SPX Moritz coin up 8%. You get the picture. Basically, everything is moving up quite beautifully, with some things like useless coin being up 20%, moving in the double digits, but most of the meme gains are somewhere to be found between 5, 6, and 7% on the day. We touched on pump. You said that up 25% on the day. The other thing that I quickly want to touch on in terms of price action is Punk Strategy.
I just dropped a picture of that in chat. Like, pull up the chart on this thing, because the pattern that always forms out of these highs is ridiculous. I'm someone that I sold this thing back at like, I don't know. I was after the actual debut of the other strategies. I called it out in chat. I'm like, you know what, guys? Like the launch didn't go well. I kind of see this thing as like it's going to probably fizzle out from here, and I don't want to just like nuke what I have. Clearly, that was the wrong decision. It has done nothing but gone. It went sideways for a little bit, actually turned it down, and then it's been up only. about 5 days after I did that. But look at the little pattern that keeps forming in these high volatility or high volume spikes after every rally. It's just like chops up and down, back and forth over like a 1 hour period. Go to the 1 hour chart if you can.
Yeah, 1 second. Let me get that up. There we go.
Either way, it's like the thing that got me, because it's just like, what the hell is going on with this thing? So after every rally, there's like this wicked up down move. I guess it's probably a byproduct of like the selling also leads to the buying of the actual token, or I guess it leads to like potential buying the punks. But either way, the thing's been wild. It's new all-time highs, 110 mil.
Yeah, it is. I think there's something to that. It sells off, accumulates more fees. Another punk gets bought, makes headlines again. People buy back in. I made a big mistake on this one. I sold yesterday at like 85 mil because I quickly wanted to have capital for something else, and this is like something I'm struggling in with at the moment. I feel like I need to deploy capital in so many places. Then I did withdraw at the same time money from my Plasma lending vault because I just wanted to free up some more stables again. Went back to buy back into Punk strategy, thought I bought back, but my transaction failed. I was like convinced I have my original position back, and I realized I don't have my position back. But I feel like there's so many things going on at the moment, and we're gonna get into the roundup. Is probably also gonna be a bit longer today because there's so many things, and we spoke about some of them, like the Legion pre-sale for yield basis, but also Solstice appeared basically more or less out of nowhere, got 170 mil in TVL and a bit of FUD as well. But I feel like I had the update on Telegram, the community challenges with some of the Plasma things I find interesting. Then I did max send the Legion pre-sale. Then there's a new casino where I also want to farm the airdrop in a similar fashion, like I've been doing that on ETH. And I'm just struggling to get all the capital together. I'm like just moving stuff around with such an intensity. Like I literally wanted to farm USD AI Allo, and I opened a balancer LP and did some Pendle shenanigans as well.
Is that on Plasma too?
That's on Plasma, yeah, exactly.
Okay.
And I was like super happy with that. And then like I think 1 hour later, I did withdraw 30K from that to move it over to Solstice. I'm not. It's not like really over trading because I'm not hopping around between tokens, but it's like some sort of like farming over activity where I'm just not making up my mind.
Is this something we should note? Like like BCheck called out last week of just like the iteration pace of basically everything is just continuing to increase. And he made sure to note it on the show. He's like, okay, like we should take a step back and realize the behaviors that we're displaying and like what that means for like the broader trends. I still think like October is here, man. It's gonna be good Q4. I think we're all kind of anticipating that. So like, I'm not saying like abandon ship because we're moving quickly, but I think it is something that we should like take a check of the room and say, okay, like, yeah, we are like changing our behaviors a little bit, and the iteration pace is picking up still and further. And now it's not even for trades. You're doing it for like literally LP positions and IPOs, and we're having like 3 TGEs a week. Like things are picking up pretty rapidly.
Yeah, it's crazy because like I find an LP, I'm happy with that, and then I see a better opportunity where my multiplier is, I don't know, 15x instead of 10x, or my return is a bit better. I farm another thing by doing that. I mean, the upside of that is that all the swaps that I do, I route them obviously through Project X.
Project X, yeah, nice.
I get a.
Are you doing pretty good rank wise there? Like top 500, top 100?
Way better than top 500.
Nice.
Top
nice.
100 something ish. But I'm getting a good amount of swap volume going there, at least as a result of that. But yeah,
I'm doing the same for Rainbow. Rainbow announced their TGE finally, and like I've been a top 100 wallet there for probably 2 years at this point. I farmed it 2 years ago, and just no one's been able to beat me because I did some took advantage of like an OP incentive program.
What did you do back then? Swaps mostly, or?
Yeah, I was bridging. There was a incentive program between, it was Optimism and Base, and if you use their bridge, basically 100% of the fee came back to you in OP tokens. So I just switched to stables and went back and forth and back and forth and back and forth and back and forth. Generated
Years
like
ago, you still top 100 wallet.
Yeah. I mean,
I
made it
volume back then, or like 8 figures probably of volume to get to that position.
I made it a weekend project, and I literally just did it for just back and forth for like 2 solid days. And yeah, I was at the time, I was like a top 50 wallet. I've slowly decayed. Now I think I've just fell outside the top 100-ish. And then I got the money back in OP tokens, and OP, that was before the L2 token run, which if you remember that meta for a hot second, everyone's like, L2 tokens are ETH beta. So I got that and was able to sell out of those while they were doing well. So I ended up actually making money to get to that position.
There's something incredibly satisfying about that. I loved it with Project X as well. When I was trying to move like stables from Plasma, and then you click around and search for a route that's just gonna optimize your stuff. And then I found, I don't know, I had then CBBTC. I moved from USDT on Plasma to CBBTC on Base. Swapped that for Tether on Base and that for USDC on mainnet, and I ended up being up $7 on a 25k swap. And it's like just so satisfying to not having paid fees for that, and because you went to 4 swaps, you did obviously more volume by doing so. But yeah, what do we take of this behavior then? Is it of this like active yield hunting? Is it just the season? Or is it something that I'm like fumbling around all the time and trying to adapt positions?
So I think it's more notable with the yield positions than it is with the trades, because like the ecosystem is pretty broad. There's always going to be a trade, and like your willingness to go into the next trade is just more of a reflection of the person than the actual trades themselves. Like if you're someone that's okay having a thesis and then like abandoning that to go to something else, like I think a trade is a little different than what you were trying to do with Plasma, right? Because what you were doing with Plasma, in my mind, that's a longer duration thing. I know that the rewards are like for a week or two, but like I had assumed, and I believe we talked about it, didn't you think that was going to be a several week to maybe a month or two farm for those stables? And then like immediately it's like, all right, that got compressed to basically zero. Everyone was fudding Plasma, and then like we're moving on to the next like stable thing. So I think it's notable on the yield farming stuff more so than the trade stuff, because yeah, that was initially set up as like a short to medium term thing, as my assumption for most people, and it turned out to be less than a week.
Yeah, and capital is extremely impatient. I mean, Plasma, you've seen withdrawals. Plasma went to XPL went to 91 cents. It's pumping right now. I have the chart in the background. It's at let's see. The token is back at 1.07, but let's see the Plasma TVL. I tried to open my Plasma dashboard, but it requires a password again.
So good. It's up 5.6.
Yeah, up 4%. Yesterday we were at 5.5 bill or so. Still doing well. I mean, obviously, if if Plasma goes up, the token goes up again, the yield's going to go up because the yield is distributed in Plasma. But this capital impatience is something that I feel strongly. And I also, I'm self-reflected enough to say that it affects other things that I do as well. And we're going to get into the things in a moment. Let me go to the Legion presale bit real quick. So we talked about yield basis. It was the presale, the applications happened on Legion. It was supposed to have a first come, first served component as well. They got rid of that. Everything will be distributed, the 2.5 mil instead of 2 mil to the applications, because it was like 80x oversubscribed. And you know what I've been doing all morning? I've been like refreshing my mails and refreshing the Legion site like every 15 minutes to see if I got in. And I'm not even that massively bullish on that. I'm just, as a result of the fact that I'm experiencing this like allocation FOMO at the moment, and that this thing is 80x oversubscribed, which per se doesn't mean anything. It's not a number go up guarantee. I kept refreshing all morning. I was like, what am I actually doing? I'm going to know this afternoon either way. So I do feel that I'm getting into a sense of FOMO that is maybe getting a bit excessive. Let's put it like that.
Yeah, I'm feeling it a little bit too. And so like I had to go back and I had to redo my Legion application because the US can't do it unless you're an accredited investor. So I sped run through the process. I didn't realize it, but I got an email the next day of like, hey, we can't do it because you didn't do this exact thing that we have to have done that does a thing. So I need to go back and see if I can do it. I don't is it totally closed for this thing, or is there a window of registration?
It's closed. They are processing the applications now. Sale is in a couple hours, and they said they're gonna notify everyone before the first come first served sale starts on Kraken, so that people have time to make their minds up.
Yeah, it's a bummer because like that's something that I wanted to get. I think that's like a pretty obvious win, given what's going on. I think, and I know the thing that everyone's pairing this with is the flying tulips from Andre Cognier. That's another one I'm going to keep an eye on to see what I can do to get associated to it, get allocation. But yeah, like I think this is going to be a little bit of a meta. But I think it'll go for a while. I think there will continue to be good ICOs over the next 3 months ish that I want to make sure I have all the things in place to participate in. Because if you even look at Plasma, like everyone's calling Plasma a scam right now, but bro, there's a 500 million FDV entry, right? I think if you can manage to get into one of these pre-sales for one of these larger products, I think it's just like it's plus EV to do so as long as you're diligent on which ones you want to go for. Like I'm not interested in the try limitless one, even though that one's super oversubscribed. It's probably going to do well, but it's just like, okay, I'm not. I don't want to go spread myself too thin. I want to go after a few pointed things. So yeah, I think it's plus EV to like line up for them, and we're going to continue to see them, I think.
That's a good point. Did limitless as well. I think my key takeaway from our discussion is participate in the pre-sales, optimize the allocations, the yield farms, but maybe just be brutal on selling the TG allocations and not trying to, be the smart trader on top of that. And with a couple of days of reflection, then decide what's a position that you want to enter and keep. Do you believe in Plasma? Do you believe in yield basis, whatever it is? Or do you just move on to the next thing? Because there's so many things to move on at the moment, and the velocity of capital is a very, very high one. That being said, getting back on track with the show. So in terms of the main headlines, I said it at the start, we have the market is pumping. We have very significant BTC and ETH ETFs, 1.5 billion inflows in the last 48 hours. And we have the shutdown to touch on. Before we do that, let's also take a look at the NFT price action real quick to see what's going on. Moonbirds are continuing to move up another 7%, 3.3 ETH floor. Pudgies are doing something that's contrasting to the Pengu move. Pengu was up 12% on the day. Pudgies are down 2%, sliding under 10 ETH floor, 9.92 ETH to be precise. Milady's down 6%, 1.75 ETH floor. Apes are flat at 9.1 ETH. What else is moving? Crypto Dickbuds Season 3 up another 8%, 1.5 ETH floor on that end. And the Genesis collection up another 11% on the day, 0.04 ETH for that, up 46% on the week. And also serves as a reminder that I still haven't done my treasure chest farming on OpenSea to get some fees accumulated over there, which I need to find the time to do at some point as well. The other quick thing, Hyper NFTs at a 1,180 hype floor, that is 54,000 US dollars, just to touch on that as well. And then
I saw there was someone who purchased that for 5,000 hype. What is that? What is that today? Is that $250,000?
Yeah.
And they immediately had it relisted for 5,050 hype. So, like, bro, if you you're probably over allocated if you're making that big of a purchase and then trying to flip it for shekels on top.
You just want to generate your fees for the OpenSea treasure chest in one go and not be bothered with the rest.
So,
anyhow, moving on to the Web3 Roundup to get you the news from around the space. We have a couple different bits and bobs of news here. The UK is seeking to keep $6.7 billion in seized Bitcoin from a Chinese fraud case that happened years ago. Tron shares, the Tron Inc. shares tumbled 85% from June peak. Amid all of that digital asset treasury market slump that we're experiencing at the moment, Metaplanet acquires another 5,288 BTC, total holdings now at 30K BTC. The Swiss bank Signum unveiled a Bitcoin yield fund as BTC DeFi demand grows. Really interesting is that this BTC Alpha Fund aims for 8 to 10% annual returns through arbitrage while keeping full Bitcoin exposure. So that's pretty aggressive in terms of yield. XRP futures are seeing stronger institutional adoption. Outpace in Solana futures hit $1 billion in open interest in 5 months, outpacing both BTC and ETH. That is according to the CME. Then this piece of news, which came via Tyler, that Coinbase crossed $1 billion in Bitcoin-backed loan originations today. Also, Swift announcing a new blockchain-based ledger with 30 plus banks. And then the other thing I wanted to touch on is this Solana game, Addicted.fun with the wheat token, which did pretty crazy numbers. Let's get it up. Yeah, there we go. Up 3,000% over the last 24 hours. 44 mil FTV. That is with 1.5 million in liquidity. It's showing this on screen for the people watching us on YouTube or in the X live streams. It's basically one massive green candle that spiked for a very brief moment at 80 mil. But that is also another opportunity. Is doing pretty well. Did you see this one?
So while I'm working throughout the day, I'll just have spaces on in the background. I usually listen anonymously, just so like whatever. Make sure I hear organic conversations. I was again in a space where people were talking about this while I was working, and I think it was at 10, 15 mil FTV at the time. And it's the same space that made me long Aster. So like I've been known to put on positions whenever I'm listening to this thing, but they scorn or burn me with the Aster position, so I didn't consider it. Now I'm looking at what's it at now? What's the FTV?
40 something mil.
Yeah, it's a little 4x there that I missed. Yes, so I'm aware of it. My understanding or my interpretation is that it's basically just like a Bitcoin clone, just on a Solana and basically focused around drug dealing. So pretty cool. It's got a good Ponzi-nomics. We love Ponzi-nomics in this industry. Good short-term trade. What the upside is, I don't know. But you could probably go and look at Bitcoin to kind of get like an idea of like how long something like this can actually go for before it starts collapsing in on itself. But it's all the same shit. Oh, you get the thing, you pour the thing into the thing, and the thing gives you more things so that you can make your thing bigger to get more things. And then you just like do that wheel for like a week, 2 weeks, maybe. Yeah, like, and with as fast as things are compressing these days, probably less. And then you move on because it collapses in on itself, and then you are a community member for life. So, yeah.
That is the story of Web3 in many cases.
Yeah. I mean, it's got some memetics to it too, which I think is good, right? Like it's like the actual like being a weed dealer is kind of a fun little thing you can LARP about. Yeah.
It's not the first time we had also one of these on ETH. You mentioned this one before, but we also had one on ETH, which Beanie back in the day shilled after Wolf game, where you had some sort, I don't remember the name, like some sort of goats that you were collecting, and these goats were determining how powerful your wheat farm is, etc. But I think that project rugged or closed. I don't remember the details. I don't want to say anything that's not true, but that was immediately what came to mind when I saw this. One more thing I want to get into before we go to the main headlines, and that is from a discussion which we had this morning. Judith and I were going a bit back and forth on that, on this post by Altoshi. I'm going to bring it up on screen. And I'm quite curious, Brett, to get your thoughts on that. I'm just going to read that out. It's a picture from Token 2049 for those who are not watching on screen and can't see it. And the post reads, Jeff, Hyperliquid, Guy, Athena, and Stani Ave were asked today on who's the main competitor. Stani said banks, Guy said Circle, and Jeff just kept silence and then said, no one, we're building something that no one does. This is the founder I'm betting on. I was making the point that screams a bit like hubris to me to say you don't have any
Yes.
competitor, especially when CZ is acknowledging, at least indirectly, Hyperliquid as a competitor and is like backing Aster and is trying to get in the way and do something. So that was one bit that I found interesting here. But the other thing is that Stani said banks, guy went for Circle. So basically, see this TradFi versus DeFi rails battle becoming stronger and stronger. But we also see TradFi obviously wanting to onboard to DeFi rails. And we had the news that I think Visa is testing to process payments in USDC to save on fees, make them more frictionless, make them more instant. So it's just such an interesting situation now that we also have Plasma ultimately trying, if they go for the neobanking route, to rival with banks like Revolut. And on the one hand, TradFi is kind of adopting crypto rails and is seeing the yield. And, the TradFi loves its yield that we achieve in this space and are starting to use the tech. But also on the other hand, I feel like that competition is intensifying at the same time. So I was just curious to get your thoughts on that.
Yeah, I mean, like the hubris thing is also kind of what jumped out at me. Like, and it could be hubris versus like I'm gonna catch a lot of shit for this. I've listened to Jeff talk on a lot of podcasts. Every single one that he's been on within the circuit that I listen to, which is like a 12-ish podcast. I've listened to him probably more than one time just because like I think it's an interesting case study. I do not put Jeff in the category of like super intellectuals. He is like very focused on trading. He does not have great awareness of a lot of the remainder of the space when it comes to blockchain designs, blockchain architecture, MEV, any of that shit, right? And so that makes me think that his commentary may not be like a malicious hubris thing where he has universal awareness of the market and he's just like, we are so unique and special and whatever, and more just be like a lack of awareness that he has for other things. And so like he may genuinely believe that there's no other competition like building for what he does. And it may just be because he's not aware of other shit, frankly, like just like an innocent, like, yeah, I'm just kind of building our thing and I can't think of anyone else, when there's like, of course, there's a ton of other people who are very much competing with him and what they're doing and the house of finance that they've lovingly adopted. So that's my take of that. I do think it rings of hubris or could ring of hubris, but I don't think it actually is. I think it's just who he is. So there's that. And then, yeah, just like, yeah, competition's heating up, right? Like, yeah, you're talking about guy going after, calling out Circle specifically actually surprised me for his commentary because I don't know, like Circle, like USDC Circle is like not even the biggest stable coin. And like, I feel like the attack vector is like, even if you listen to him talk in a lot of podcasts, his view and ambition has always been global, right? Like he's talking about like the entire financial institution and democratizing access to like this specific trade and implying or imbuing yield into a lot of things. So that's actually disjointed from what he's described himself previously. When I've heard him describe what they're trying to do and where his ambitions lie on like a 10-year time horizon. Just Circle doesn't seem like a big enough target for what he's trying to do. Tether's bigger than Circle, right? Like,
yeah,
go there. But yeah, I'm kind of drifted a little bit there, but that was my view of those three.
Both very, very fair points. I see Funky with his hand up. Let's go to you, Funk, and then we're going to get into the main headlines.
Just a quick counterpoint. What great founder doesn't have at least a little bit of hubris, right? I mean, you think of Steve Jobs. Like, I mean, any of these massive people that have grown their companies into gargantuan things, they're ballsy people. They take big bets. They take huge risks. So I think there's that. And to Guy and the Circle thing, I think just because USDC is still seen in the West as like the de facto okay stable coin, so it makes maybe sense that Guy would call it USDC over USDT. I mean, just speculating, but it just knowing that they're trying to, with Converge and everything else that they're building at Athena Labs, it would make a lot of sense that he's trying to still talk to that TradFi audience, I guess.
Yeah, very, very good point. And, just to be fully transparent, that post obviously isn't like changing my my conviction in Hyperliquid or makes me adjust my position. It's just thought it was an interesting discussion to be had. Let's get into the main headlines. First of which is to do with the bullish crypto price action. We spoke to that. So let's see what is happening with other asset classes, starting with gold first. And this is ridiculous. Like gold is up another percent. It's almost at 3.9K. I think, was it yesterday or 2 days ago? You still could bet on Myriad if gold's going to go to 4K or 3.1K first and have like a 20, 30, 35%-ish upside on that. Had it on my list of things to do, missed it because I'm so overwhelmed at the moment, as we said earlier. Also with that in line, silver is moving up another 1.5% at 47. S&P 500 also had a lovely day, up another 0.4% at 6,688 points. Pre-market is down a bit, 0.5% across the board. Then, Brett, you didn't like the gold news. You will like this one. Where is it? Robinhood is doing very, very well. It's up another 5% on the day, $143. Is up 13% on the week. And just to put it more in perspective, that came via Tyler. The stock is up 40% since it was included on the S&P 500 in the S&P 500 on September 5th. So it's up 40% in a bit less than a month, which is pretty insane. Two more stocks I want to check in with. One, Sharplink Gaming. That thing is basically flat at $17, obviously down. There we go. Massively from the top at $75, which it had hit earlier this summer in June. And then because we spoke about Circle a bit, just to see where this is, it's also pretty flat over the month at $132. Nothing too eventful to report on that. So I think it's still incredible that like everything is moving up at the same time. Like we have crypto running back, we have BTC speed running. We have gold speed running to 4K. We have individual stocks pumping beautifully. That is such a crazy environment to be in. So I still wonder if this timeline that I had set in my mind to basically be like end of the year is when I want to shift back into stables and take profits quite aggressively, or DCAing out throughout the rest of the year. If a run like this will go on for longer, or can it even last that long? But it's just unheard of, especially to see the stock market and the gold price rallying so hard at the same time.
Yeah, I mean, we have to remember part of the reason why this is the case, and that is because the devaluation of the dollar, right? Like everything is going up in dollar terms. The only way everything can go up in dollar terms is if each dollar doesn't go as far, right? So like it's a little bit of that. So like obviously that you're not going to have that over this time horizon, right? It's only been like a month since Robinhood did the 40% pump. So like there's obviously pockets of things that are increasing more than others. And I wouldn't expect these things to increase 40% over a month just because the dollar is deflating. But I think long-term trajectory is a lot of that. That is what's driving the gold price. That's why, China's been TWAPing into it for the last like 3-6 months, whatever it is, increasing its exposure. Same thing with India. So I think a lot of it is that. Oh yeah, nice. What are you looking at here?
Dixie chart, dollar versus a basket of other currencies to see how that has been going
down only. Right. What's that time horizon there?
This is 5 days, but year to date is down 10% basically.
Yeah. So, that's the long-term trajectory of this stuff. And I think everyone just broadly believes that it'll continue to go on this trend for, I don't know how long, the foreseeable future, right? Governments just continue to print money. And like, that's how we're going to inflate our way out of a lot of this stuff. So I think, we're now in this environment where people are trying to oscillate between what they view as hard assets. So that's the golds of the world. That's these collectibles of the world. That's even Bitcoin is now entering that conversation. And then speculative stuff like stocks and stuff are going up because the economy is still pretty healthy. So people are pumping into this stuff. People have money, so they're juicing it. So I think there's that. You have a comment on that? Yes, I heard you.
There's an extra dimension for that that's more relevant for me than for you. You obviously price everything natively in dollars, so you don't care too much about the exchange rate between dollars and euros, but I do. And this extra thing, just seeing that year to date, the dollar is down 10% against our currencies, it's down more than 10% against the euro, means that basically all of the yield farms that I'm looking at, I have to look under the lens, oh, okay, 10%, 15% a year sounds nice, but how much is that actually if the dollar continues to trend down? And I said at the start of the year, my trade was not to be in yield farms, it was to be in the euro stable and then go back into dollars. But I feel like I always have to make this benchmark to be on Aave, see how much I can earn on USC, which is like most of the time around 4%, and then have to have this implication in my mind. Okay, if the dollar continues to go down, will I actually, with a nice APY number, outperform that, thinking from a euro perspective? So this is why, and maybe that explains part of the reason why I'm like flip-flopping between pools so much, that I always try to capture a second layer of potential return. So even with the balancer stuff that I mentioned on Plasma, yes, it's yielding 13%, but I'm getting allo exposure. With the Project X liquidity pool, that many of them that I did, yes, they're yielding X%, but I also get a potential Project X airdrop, potential unit airdrop by using unit assets. So I feel like I have this extra hurdle rate, basically, which I need to beat, thinking from a euro perspective.
Yeah, I sympathize with that. The other side of like being an American is like, I don't feel like I have that hurdle rate, but the hurdle rate for us is taxes, right? Like the way that you can manage your taxes versus us, which, as everyone saw from Thread Guys' crash out yesterday, it's not as extreme in all states, but yeah, man, you're probably losing, 40% of every single swap. Every time you trade a token, it's a capital gains transaction, right? So, there's a lot to deal with there, not a headwind.
Yeah, that's the thing. You guys can't escape that. You pay US taxes wherever you are, unless you denounce your citizenship and become a citizen or whatever.
Or move to Puerto Rico. That's the only loophole we have.
Yeah, but that has an expensive threshold to make that worth your time.
Correct. I know people that have done it. I've talked to them. I got tax advisors and stuff. I don't know if it's for me.
Talking a couple more prices and then moving into the second headline. I wanted to take a look on Polymarket just to see how the market's feeling about the next couple of days. We have what price will Bitcoin hit between September 29th and October 5th. So basically within the next 4 days, 66% of the market are thinking, yep, we're going to go to 118K. 35% think 120K is going to be a reality by October 5th. And still 15% thinking we could see 122K. Very, very similar picture for ETH as well, with the biggest bracket thinking that 4.4K, 62%, and 4.5K, 38% are very much realistic within the next 4 days. And kind of linking that to the second headline, where we said that we've seen massive ETH and BTC ETF net inflows this week. Brett, what are the numbers here that we need to know?
Yeah, pulling these bad boys up. Yeah, I mean, we've this actually broke a pretty strong downtrend over the last, we were looking at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, about a week and a half. I like to look at the bar charts so you can actually just get visualize it outside of the red stuff. But the last 2 days, so yesterday alone, Bitcoin ETF had 518 mil, Ethereum ETF has 540 mil, and then yesterday another 420 and 130 for Bitcoin and Ethereum respectively. That, as I said, the previous 8 days before that were either downtrending, low volume, or straight outflows to the tune of a couple hundred billion. Looks like about 500 million, 400 million on the 25th for Bitcoin, another 250 on Ethereum. So we finally broke through some of that stuff. I think it's just generally showing that hey, there is still some appetite on the traditional market for some of these assets. Notable, but nothing to take action on.
Fair enough. Any thoughts from you on potential Solana ETFs, other ETFs that we are going to see with the easier application process? Is it something you're looking into, or
I'm yeah, I like the actual flows themselves, like the day one flows. I think it'll be notable, but I don't think it'll be something that you again take action on. But I do want to monitor the conversation around Solana, because as I called out whenever Ethereum started this big rally recently, my position was that, because if everyone remembers, right, if I recall how everyone thought at the time when Ethereum was in the doldrums and before Tom Lee had started pumping it with DATs and everything else, everyone was looking at it and going, man, no one uses Ethereum. Man, it's not generating any revenue. Man, it doesn't have any transaction volume, whatever. Where's the value? There's no value accrual. Wow, like L2s are parasitic, all this shit. And everyone's going, look at Solana, look at the activity, look at the fees, look at the. None of those things have changed. None of them. So like Solana continues to be the thing that is outperforming on a transaction and fee generating basis. It's got things like pump on it. It's got now like, you know, this drug stuff is taking place on it. Like it's just got activity. It's got whatever. It's got metrics that you can point to justify the value accrual, even if you don't believe that's has as high of an upper bound. And Ethereum hasn't changed. It's still not very active. It's, you know, not generating a lot of revenue. Everyone's just going, well, it's got stable coins on it and TVL. And therefore, because you have these things, ETH, the price will go up. And again, back in the day before that, we were coming up with metrics that we thought were good, good ways to summarize like why or justify the value of the Solana. So you have Rev that came forward. You have like all of these things. They're like, we're quantifying the app revenue, we're quantifying the MEV, we're quantifying all these things. Therefore, if you apply this, you get like a 22x multiple at the peaks. And like, okay, that's actually kind of not a crazy justification on price. There's value going to the validators. Like there's all this economic activity. Good, great, awesome. I think I said then, whenever Ethereum started getting popular, it's like, don't ignore the metrics that were like the state of mind that we were in at this time, right? Because all of us looked at that and we said, this makes sense to me, right? This kind of fits in traditional models. There's economic activity, there's financial, like everything. And it justifies the value of Solana. It's going to Sol, the token. And then all of a sudden, yeah, Tom Lean blew it out of the water. I think those things are going to come back. All those things that made sense to us then, and research analysts then, and investors then, will also make sense to the TradFi investors now. So whenever people come to TradFi and they go, look, bro, we have these two tokens. One of them, you have to believe in magic money. Like, oh, because it's got stable coins are bullish. Therefore, you should buy this separate other thing, which is the platform. Like, don't worry about it, bro. Like, money will go to it. Or you could buy this thing, which you can plug into a spreadsheet, and the thing that you've been doing the last 20 years of your career. And by doing that, you can come up with a formula that says like this thing is actually justifying the valuation. Like, which of those two things do you think they're actually going to bid? They're probably going to bid the thing that like fits their traditional brains, like their models. They don't have to like blind faith bid into like a Ethereum and a Bitcoin, right? That stuff, like they're starting to come around to it. They just opened up their minds to what Bitcoin is with digital gold. I don't know that it's going to work as well with Ethereum. So I am more interested in the conversation that comes forward whenever Solana gets the ETFs to see, okay, is it resonating with them? Are they bidding it? Is it something that makes sense to them? Because like if it starts doing that, then like, yeah, man, like it might hit a pretty strong leg up, and I want to be in position for that.
Yeah, I think you're making a fantastic point with that. Maybe let's take a couple more minutes on this discussion then. What do you then make of Solana's, I would say, recently very, very strong effort to position themselves more as a like chain to be taken seriously for DeFi players as well? We've seen Solstice, we've seen things like Keel basically getting an enormous amount of followers from Foundation, Radium, etc., and not even having launched it. So I feel like there's a very good amount of like big projects that are now trying to attract TVL, that have heavy support by Solana, by the Foundation as well, and try to kind of cement them as a DeFi chain as well. We have the Meteora TGE coming in 24 days from now. I think on Polymarket, ranges 1 to 2 bill, where people are speculating on that. So, and it's probably going to be an important one because people will look at that and benchmark it against other DeFi protocols on the Ethereum ecosystem. So what do you make of that? And do you position yourself currently in DeFi plays on Solana? How's your yeah, what are your thoughts on that?
Solana's biggest DeFi hurdle to me, or at least like what I perceived recently, is actually its inflation rate. And the reason that is the case is if you look at like Solana all-time high FDV was hit a while ago, but its price all-time high was not hit because over the last few years, it's emitted so many tokens. That is the current downside of a Solana versus an Ethereum. Ethereum's emission rate for the token to pay the validators to operate as a chain is way lower than basically all other chains. Like it's, you know, a couple of a percent. Like, and I think that's like 1.3%, something crazy low, which means the capital on the chain has to seek yield elsewhere. And it seeks yield through DeFi, right? Through building up all of these things with all these assets that it actually has on the chain. So you have very rich economic activity. That plus like the actual process of staking being actual literal staking, whereas on Solana, it's delegated staking. It's much easier to attain the stake, right? So like, it's just for people who don't understand the difference. On Ethereum, if I own a stake, I have to literally give my tokens over to something, enter into a staking queue, and then like stake the thing, right? I have to actually physically do that with my Ethereum, or I have to buy a wrapped token that represents a staked token, like a Lido staked ETH, right? And then that is a liquid version of that, but that ETH still has to be staked on the other side. Whereas on the Solana, it's delegated stake, which means I just sit there and I just signal. I just point. I have Solana in my wallet, and I point over to Helios, and I say, I'm giving them my value. That's the people that I'm giving my energy to, and they give me yield on top of that. And because Solana inflates so much more, it's like 5%. I think it's like decreasing year over year, but it's like 5-ish%, which is a lot. That's a lot of emitted tokens. It actually is like the most profitable and simplest to just like delegate to someone and get the stake. And then like, okay, cool. I'm making a pretty good return on my tokens by just not participating in literally anything. My capital does not have to be productive. It doesn't have to seek these DeFi configurations, whether it's a loan or, you know, a fucking restaking or whatever. That plus the MEV, like the combination of those two things, when you have Jito and Helios, like MEV aware that redistribute those funds, like there's just no incentive to actually participate in DeFi. So that's the biggest hurdle for a Solana, and that's not something that's going to be remedied in short order, right? And like it's just a headwind that they have. So like for me on the chain, like why should I play in all of these games with all these program risks, which is like their equivalent of the smart contract? Why should I play those games where I can get basically the same return by just like sitting in my wallet and delegating to Helios? Same shit. So like that's their headwind.
That's a fantastic counterpoint. Look, we only have 1 minute left in the show. We're not going to be able to have like a deeper discussion on the government shutdown, but on the show tomorrow, I'm going to have Funky back with me in the co-host seat. I'm pretty certain we're going to get into that. But just to give you a quick update, so the shutdown did happen. First one in nearly 7 years. The last time it happened was at the end of 2018 during Trump's first term. This time it's a bit different. In the past, we've seen long shutdowns as politically dangerous. In this case, Trump's position will be laying off a lot of people. So after previous shutdowns, government operations mostly returned to normal. Staff spending levels largely going back to what they had been before. But I feel like Trump administration has been pretty adamant about the fact that they do want to cut on the job side. And just to quickly get you this holy market on when the shutdown will end. Currently, 38% of the market think that's the biggest bracket. I'm showing this on screen. Is October 15th or later. Only 14% think that this is going to be resolved within the next couple of days. So anywhere between October 3rd and October 5th, which is over the weekend. But we are going to get into that a bit more on the show tomorrow. That being said, Brett, thank you so much for co-hosting the show with me today. Funky, thank you for your contributions. Thanks to everyone in the YouTube comments being very, very active as per usual. Just struggle to reply to all of them when I'm also hosting the show. That's the limit of my multitasking capacity. However, we will upload the show as per usual to Spotify, to Apple Podcasts as well, clip it, and we're going to be back tomorrow, same time, same place, 7 a.m. Eastern time. In the meantime, have a wonderful Wednesday and see you tomorrow.